Hey, 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 you're waking up with Craig. Good morning on Monday, November 19th. Welcome back after a long weekend. We start with our morning quote. Football is football and talent is talent, but the mindset of your team makes all the difference. RG3. The biggest thing I saw this weekend was teams who want to win, and then there were teams who knew how to win. The Saints know how to win. The Atlanta Falcons have Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley. They got Matt Ryan at quarterback and all this talent, and they continue to lose football games. The Panthers are way better than the Lions, and they went for two to try and win the game instead of extending it and just winning it with talent later on. And the Minnesota Vikings played an atrocious game on Sunday night. Joining me now is Bo Norcross and Drew Tyner to talk about the game. Now, Tyner, what is wrong with the Minnesota Vikings?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah.
They overpaid a knockoff Case Keenum.
So you think it starts with Kirk Cousins?
I don't think he's playing to his full potential. He's definitely not playing $84 million football.
And I agree with that.
And they say it starts with the line, and that is true. But it really here in this situation starts with Kirk Cousins. He's got to get it together. They got to get the run game going too. Dalvin Cook at one point had like 7 carries for maybe 18 yards, if that. And that's not enough when you were so expectant on a guy like him.
And this is the 4th time this year that we finished with under 50 rush yards in a game. And I agree, last year with Case Keenum, he played better, and Kirk's not doing it this year. But I think for Kirk as well, with Thielen and Diggs, they're starting to key in on those guys. And the run game last year was so strong, and Murray played so well. And McKinnon even played well, and he's a missing piece this year. And I think that they're starting to just put only 7 guys or 6 guys in the box and letting everyone else just go play. But what do you think the problem is for the Vikings right now?
First off, I want to say it's good to be back, Jip.
Hey, Bo, thanks for being back. It's a long weekend.
Yeah, it has been. I'd like to say, I think the Vikings, though, I know they had a great season last year, but I think they played better than what they were. You know what I mean when I say that? They weren't necessarily the most talented team in the league, but they found a way to win games with Case Keenum last year. And this year, they just don't seem to have that killer instinct when they need it. You know, first of all, they came out slow tonight against the Bears.
Yeah, no points in the first half.
Yeah, it's not what you need. Kirk Cousins did not look good tonight.
No.
And, like Tyner said, that run game has just been not what they expected. The receivers have played well. That's the one kind of bright side the Vikings have had. The defense is not as consistent as it was last year, that's for sure.
Dalvin Cook, 9 carries, 12 yards.
And we finished with 22 total yards from the run game.
Yeah, that doesn't help a quarterback.
That's not going to cut it.
That you can't have that.
And I agree. Last year we won some games at Atlanta, home against the Saints. We swept the Lions. We went 5-1 in the division last year.
You didn't have to deal with that bad man either.
And I think defense earlier this year was a huge problem. We started to play better tonight, had 2 interceptions, a fumble, but the offense just isn't doing its job. It's not getting it done, and I think Kirk Cousins has to step it up. That interception, the pick 6, it was a 1-score game and made it into a 2-score game. And not only that, they went for 2 to make it 2 scores and 2 2-point conversions. And I don't know what's going to happen here coming down with the Vikings. But a team that is playing well is the New Orleans Saints, who won by 38 points today. They were up 38-7. And they said, you know what, screw it, we're going to throw a deep pass to Kamara to even add on to it. On 4th down to make it 45-7. They embarrassed the Eagles. But are the Saints the best team in football, Bo?
Easily right now. And to add on to what you said, they actually won by 41.
41.
48-7.
48-7.
Yeah, they are. There's no doubt in my mind. They beat the Rams. If they played the Chiefs, man, I'd love to see that game. If they,
You might see it in the Super Bowl.
We're hoping, right?
Tyner, what do you think? Are the Saints the best team?
It's not even a question. I mean, their run defense is right now the best in the league. And when your run defense is the best in the league, you can focus on the pass even more. And it just makes your defense that much better. And their offense is clearly amazing. Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. And then making these receivers look like the top in the league. And I've never heard of, what was his name today? Some
Traquan Smith.
Traquan Smith.
Yeah.
I don't even
Over
know who that
100
is.
yards
Man-
and touchdowns.
Man looked like he was the next coming of like Emmanuel Sanders out there today.
And that's the thing with the Saints. Going back to RG3's quote, they have talent, don't get me wrong, but they know how to win. They will go for it on fourth down.
Okay.
If they're up 31 points, that's not enough for them. They want to make it more.
They stepped on throats, that's for sure.
But if we're going to talk about proving it, Notre Dame proved it this weekend. But what'd you see out of them?
I mean, like I said, 21-point win. No one believed me, but here we are, right? I saw a lot of good things out of Notre Dame. They controlled that entire game. I never had a doubt, not once. I think they're going to be tough. Question is, like, can they beat the best of the best? That is the thing we're waiting to see. Like, they beat Michigan beginning of the year. It was the first game of the year. But other than that, like, their big wins haven't been, like, necessarily top dogs. So we'll see.
And one thing I noticed from Notre Dame that concerns me about playing Clemson or Alabama, do I think they have the talent to do it? Yes. But their first 4 drives, touchdown and 3 field goals. They had 16 points, and they should have had 28. They should have had 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
And against an Alabama or Clemson, that can't happen. Tyler, do you think Notre Dame can compete with either Alabama or Clemson?
After what I saw the Citadel do, 10-10 against Bama, I think the committee should look at Notre Dame and give them a top 2 spot this
Oh,
week.
here we go.
Shout out to the committee. You better listen. You better give it some consideration.
Now, a lot of crazy things can still happen. Ohio State can beat Michigan. Georgia can upset Alabama. Is there a team outside of the top 4 right now that you could see getting in, or you think should get in, if one of those top 4 fall, Tyler?
Georgia?
You think so? You think Georgia
Well, I
is
think-
that Georgia has the best shot at it?
I think they do.
I think they do because they're virtually gonna blow out whoever they play this. I forget who it is, but they're gonna win this week.
Oh, it's Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. They're
Yeah.
gonna beat Georgia Tech, and they have one game that they need to win. It's clear cut what they need to do. They need to go beat Bama.
It's their only chance, but I think they have the best chance because they're the only team I can confidently say, like, they beat Bama, wow, they're in. Anyone else from the outside looking in? You know, they don't necessarily have that game where it's like, wow, they beat Bama, they're in. You know, no one has
So
that
now-
game.
Let's say Bama beats Georgia. Georgia has 2 losses. They're out.
Yeah.
Ohio State beats Michigan. Michigan has 2 losses. They are out.
Oh, you're saying Ohio State's going to beat Michigan?
If that happens, now your choices go between Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Washington State, and Ohio State. Now, I'm going to say Washington State does not have a great schedule. But they have looked good as of late. And I know the committee looks at eye test. Is there any chance for Washington State or Oklahoma, because they both have such prolific offenses, or is it just going to go right to Ohio State at that 4 spot?
I'm not sure. Ohio State's got to win. Are they big? They're Big Ten, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they got to win the Big Ten. They got to beat Northwestern in that game, which they should.
And they got to beat Michigan this
And they
week.
got to beat Michigan. There's a lot of ifs there. If Washington State beats Washington this week, that helps their case a ton. And they got to win the Pac-12, whoever they end up playing. But I don't think Oklahoma is. I think they're last on that list of teams of like. I think that they need because I think West Virginia is going to give them the game. I'm still sticking with my West Virginia over Oklahoma this coming week. So that's
Wow.
my take on it.
Ohio State would definitely have the advantage, but I think if Washington State can play strong games like 2 possession games, 14-point games, and win those games, you look at Ohio State. They barely beat Minnesota this week, right?
Yeah, and they
Maryland.
Maryland, and
Yep.
then Nebraska they beat by 5 or 6 points.
They
Yeah, they haven't had.
they
convincing
haven't
wins.
looked like they haven't convinced me that they are a top 4 team in the nation. Whereas Washington State might deserve it in the end if they're just saying, "Oh, we're going to beat these guys by a ton, these guys by a ton."
No,
They're
I,
going to look strong.
I get the teams Washington State has beat aren't great, but when you go and beat even Arizona, go and beat them 69-28 by 41 points.
Yeah.
Committee looks at convincing wins, and even Michigan this week they only beat Indiana by less than 10 points. So do you think those convincing wins, Bo, could be enough for them in the end?
I mean, maybe over, like I said, over Oklahoma, yeah. Over Ohio State's going to be a tougher one.
They need some help.
Yeah, they
What
need
would
some
be
help.
best for them is if Michigan loses to Ohio State and then Northwestern goes and knocks off Ohio State.
Right, because Northwestern's not even close.
Right.
So,
It's going to be tough, and we got a lot of games coming down that we got to pay attention to. Now, if we're going to talk about the playoff picture, we got to go to the NFL. And looking at the NFL, starting with the NFC, the Saints are my number 1. The Rams are my number 2. The Bears are my 3 seed. And I'm not going to lie, with Alex Smith needing season-ending surgery, Eagles looking awful today. I love what I see from the Cowboys. Dak is starting to play better. Zeke is starting to be the guy we knew him to be. Then my 5th spot goes to the Panthers. Yes, they had a hiccup today, but they have a weak schedule coming up. And then my 6th seed goes to whoever wins next week between the Vikings and the Packers. Tyner, what's your top 6 in the NFC?
The Saints are going 15-1. The Rams are getting the 2 seed. The Bears are winning the division, probably at 11-5. And then you know who's winning the NFC East. The Giants are running the table. They completed step 2 of 8 today. Beat the 49ers last week. Beat the Buccaneers this week. And Eli looked 29 out there. Saquon Barkley, shout out Tom Hansen for agreeing with me, is the best running back in the league.
Now,
He dominated. I know it's a bad defense, but he ate.
do I think he's the best running back in the league? It's tough. Melvin Gordon is good. Todd Gurley has had a great season. Is he a top 5? Yes, absolutely. I will give that to you. They looked like a new team today, did they not?
They looked amazing.
They looked like today like they wanted to win. Odell looked like he wanted to win. And if I could see that from them, I'm not saying they are going to run the table. Do I think they can win 6 of these next 8 or whatever? Absolutely. They looked like a new football team
They
today.
got 6 games left.
Now, who are your 2 wild cards?
I think you're right on. Whoever wins the Vikings-Packers game is getting into the playoffs. And the Panthers have a tough schedule coming up. They have to play the Saints twice.
Outside of that, though, it's not that tough.
Outside of that, it is not that tough. And I do think they get enough wins to find a playoff spot. But I think that if the Vikings or Packers can find a way to get hot, and they both probably can, although it doesn't look like it right now, but they both probably can, they might get that 5 seed over that 6 seed. But the Panthers, and then I agree with you, the winner of the next week's game.
But what do you got for your top 6?
oh, you guys are going to love this. Ready?
No.
All right. The Saints at the 1, that's a clear cut.
Yep.
Rams at the 2. And now this is when it gets funny,
I
right?
might have to leave.
The Packers are going to go 9-6 and 1, 9-6 and 1, and actually get the 3 seed. The 4 seed is going to go to the Cowboys at 9-7, and then the Panthers at the 5 seed at 10-6, the first wild card. Vikings get that last wild card spot at 9-6 and 1. The only difference is like we have the head-to-head. The Bears collapse is coming. 9-7
Oh, no.
is my prediction. The Bears will not make the playoffs at 9-7. That is my prediction. The only way the Bears can get in is if the Panthers are also 9-7, and then whatever the tiebreaker would come down to.
So, the Bears had a good win tonight. Go to 7-3. The Vikings didn't play great, but the Bears also played well.
Well enough.
So, 7-3.
Yep.
6 games left.
Yep.
You see them losing 4 of their next 6.
I
When
do.
are these losses going to occur?
Okay, so they're going to lose to the Packers.
Okay.
They're going to lose to the Vikings.
Okay.
They're going to lose on Thanksgiving to the Lions.
Okay.
And they're going to lose to the Rams. Those are my 4 losses for them. 3 division games that they don't get done. And the Rams. They beat the Giants and the Niners. Wow. To get those 2 wins. But I'm hoping those Giants pull it out.
Now, I'm not going
to
to write this off that quick because the schedule is tough coming up. The Rams, I think they could lose. Vikings week 17, especially if it means something for the Vikings at home, a playoff spot, they could lose. I think Thanksgiving Day could actually be tough. That is a tough time to play. Just a noontime game is odd. Playing on a Thursday is odd on Thanksgiving. That's a time where the Lions could catch them. And
Lions at home, too.
Lions at home. And even if the Giants play like they did today, Their offense might be good enough to do it.
Everyone sleeps on the 49ers, but they play a lot of teams tough, even though they're not that talented.
The problem for me
I'm not saying
is the Bears are good at home. The Bears are really good at home. So I'm worried about that Packers game.
I'm not worried. I told you I'm not worried. The Bears do not scare me.
I don't know how the Bears are going to beat the Giants if the Giants are going to run the table.
But Tyler, let's talk about this. Do you really see them losing 4 of their next 6?
The Bears?
Yeah.
I don't.
So,
I see them winning the division, maybe losing 2 more games.
See, that's ridiculous.
Oh, ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
They're on pace.
why, Bo, do you think the Bears will lose the 4 of the next 6 games?
They don't have the offense.
They look good tonight.
No, they did what they
Trubisky looked
had
good.
to do. Did you see the second half? That was boring.
But that's because they played with a lead, Bo.
Right, but they did that against the Packers and they lost because of it. They can't do that against good teams.
I just think they're tough. And
I'm
I think they
not
really
worried.
are. Their defense is good.
I know you're worried because you lost tonight, but you shouldn't be. You should just trust that the collapse is coming, Jim. Just trust it.
We
buddy.
won't even get into the collapse tonight. We're going to move to the other side. I got the Chiefs at 1. The Patriots at 2. I think they win a few games down the stretch. They have division opponents that aren't as tough as the Steelers might have to face the Ravens and some of those teams. Steelers are 3. The Texans are on a hot streak. They are playing out of their mind right now. They're going to be my 4. Chargers are 5. And we'll get into that in a second because they didn't look great today. And the Colts might be my most impressive team right now, being my last team in. The Chargers, I'm worried. Because I think this is what happens to them, and you said it, Bo and Tyner, the other night. They start out hot, and then they find ways to lose. And today, that's what they did. They found ways to lose. The Colts, however, put up, 38 points today?
They ate, yeah.
38-10, they won. Andrew Luck is playing out of his mind. Ebron was awful in Detroit, and he is playing great with Andrew Luck. And T.Y. Hilton have a day, son, with 2 touchdowns or whatever he had for yards. And their defense, 155, and their defense is playing great. Tyner, what's your AFC?
The Chiefs are going to have home field advantage through the AFC playoffs. The Patriots are going to get the 2 seed. Yeah, the Steelers are going to get the 3 seed, but they
didn't look great today.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, but I mean, you said they
Jalen Ramsey made Big Ben look
right,
like
but it's something about the Jags. I don't think that's the Steelers had looked good up until this
They
game.
had, and the Jags had looked awful on defense.
And who's
I
your
know,
number
I
4,
know.
Tyner? Who's your AFC South?
It's the Texans. Hold on, I agree with you on that. My playoff picture is the same as yours. And yeah, the Chargers. The Chargers are gonna have enough wins over the Colts to have that 5 seed. But if they're just playing 500 football into the playoffs, it might be a quick exit against Houston.
I also have the same 6 as you guys. But that 6 seed, even though I like the Colts right now, there's a lot of teams in that mix. 5-5 teams. I mean, the Dolphins I don't think have a chance at it. But I'd say the Ravens and Bengals both have a shot at it. And they're both 5-5 teams. So I wouldn't say it's the Colts. I mean, even the Titans could figure it out. I mean, they're 5-5. I don't know what Mariota's status is.
Now, I'm starting to get worried about the Titans because Mariota always seems like he's hurt. And they've shown me against the Pats, they played well. Against the Jaguars, they've played well. But to me, these division games, you've got to start winning. And I get today was on the road, and I get Mariota went down. But I just see the Colts having more talent, and they're just playing hot. There's something about catching fire at the right time, and that's what they're starting to do. Now, we've talked about our playoff picture, but there's really some real top-tier teams out there. And tonight, we have it in the game of the night. Chiefs, Rams, potential Super Bowl matchup. Tyner, who do you like and why?
I'm gonna take the Chiefs.
What do you see for a score?
Oof. High scoring one. I saw that it was the highest over in NFL history, at least starting. It was like 63 or 64 points.
Wow.
So I'm going to go even over that, 38-35.
And you're going to take the Chiefs?
I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Why is that? I mean, I know it's in LA. That's tough.
It is in LA, but I just think Mahomes and Kareem Hunt are going to come out ready. I think Mahomes wants to win this game more than the only person that wants to win this game more than Mahomes is Sean McVay. But I don't think his players respond, and I think the Chiefs have the ball last. It might be one of those games. Whoever has the ball last wins. I just think the Chiefs are going to be able to pull this one out in the end.
Now, I think this game is going to be high scoring as well. I think this is going to be a 38-35 game,
Wow.
except the Rams are going to take it
Ooh.
just because it's in LA.
That's fair.
And I think this is a prove-it game because I think the Rams have heard a lot about last year and how you can't win the big one. They couldn't win the playoff game. They had their chance against the Saints. They couldn't win that. They thought they had the prove-it game against the Vikings, but the Vikings have kind of dropped off a little bit. This is a team that has proven themselves in the Chiefs, and I think Gurley and Goff and some of those guys, especially McVay, like you said, want to prove it. But to me, this is a who scores it last type of game. Bo, what do you got?
Chiefs by 7. 38-31. Showtime Mahomes shows up in LA, stuns the Rams. I think the Chiefs get out to maybe a 2-score lead early. The Rams respond, but not enough in the end. I think the Chiefs take it 38-31.
Now, we're talking a lot about top-tier teams. There is no top-tier team like Edward Little High School basketball. Coming off a state championship, but they've lost some key players. Darby Shea is gone. Khalid is gone. Tyler is gone. You've lost your point guard and 2 prolific scorers. Tyler, are you worried about their offense this year?
I think Coach Adams is going to find a way. Coach Adams is one of the best, if not the best coach in the state. I think he's going to be able to figure out a way to work with what he's got. It might not be pretty at first, but there's never going to be a reason to panic. I think an X factor is Storm Gibson. Storm Gibson is a big X factor this year, and I think he's going to ball out a little bit. I think he's going to show us something.
Now, I see you point out Storm. I think there's 4 guys. Storm and Austin Brown come back, who played good minutes last year. The development of Max Creaser and Dan Milks, I think, is important as well. Because those are guys that can score, and not score as much, but together they might be able to replace a scorer. Austin Brown needs to step up this year and go to the basket and be more aggressive. But there's one guy who could always get it done for us. Wall Maywin. But what do you think about Wall and the year he could have?
I think he's going to have a special year. He's the glue to this team, though. He needs to keep these younger guys, calm and settle as they get more minutes and more involved into this great team. But yeah, he's definitely the glue. He's going to have a great year. Like Tiny said, Coach Adams is going to figure it out with their new guys. They'll do what they have to do. I think they'll be just fine.
Do you like a chance for a repeat?
As an Eddie, I hope so. I don't know.
It's tough.
That is tough.
And one team that I think this year could give EL a lot of trouble is 5 miles away. Matthew Fleming. Fleming's committed to West Point, and he's a good basketball player. And they've got shooters, and they're playing better. But I think the key for EL to beat those types of teams this year, the Portlands, the Bangors, is to just play tough defense. You got guys like Wall. You got Dan Milks, who's dunking the ball now. You got Max Creaser, Storm, and Austin, who are athletic. Go out there and make plays on defense and let that turn into your offense. And I think, Tyner, we could see a lot of breakaway dunks this year.
I'm a big fan.
Now, if we're going to talk about special plays, there might not be a team with more special players than the New York Football Giants. And Tyner,
Believe it.
Tyner, I'm going to apologize. I don't do this often. But I'm going to say I'm sorry. Because the Giants have the pieces. Odell is a top 5 receiver.
Thank you.
But he has not been playing like it until this last week. And I think that goes a lot with how the season has been going. Saquon is balling out. He's a top 5 running back. I don't think Eli's the future. But right now, if Eli does what he did today, they could win some games down the stretch. And Shermer got more aggressive on the play calling today. Is there a chance they run the table?
You don't have to ask me that question. There's a very good chance they run the table. if they can go beat Philly next week, and Philly is down right now. Philly just got walloped. I know it's the Saints, but they put up 7 points. 7. Scored once. We can go beat Philly, give them a 7th loss, and like I said, we're running the table. We're going to go 9-7. Alex Smith, prayers for him. He's done for the season. I don't see Colt McCoy leading that team to many more wins. We play them once more. We play the Bears. We play winnable games.
Now, the thing that scares me is not your division games anymore. I think Cowboys game could be tough, but I think if it's a must-win, you could win
Week
that.
17, if they're going to move it to Sunday Night Football.
Right, you could win that one. The ones that scare me are the Bears because they're playing hot, and the Texans have won 7 straight. That scares me. What do you think is the biggest factor against those types of teams?
Well, the Bears, we get them at home. And I think we have the offense to put up. They have a good D. I think we have the playmakers and the offense to put up more points than them. I think Trubisky's playing well, but he's not going to go out and light up a scoreboard. And that might be a game where we have to put up, we have to just keep grinding. They grind out games. You take them one at a time. I'm not even looking ahead to the other games. This week we're focused on Philly. We got to go beat Carson Wentz. We're gonna win. We're gonna run the table.
So you're treating it like playoffs at this point. It's a one game and you're done. You lose, it's like being out. It's like being out of the playoffs.
8-8 won't do it.
Bo, do you think there is a potential chance at running the table?
Yes and no. So here's how I lay out the Giants' schedule the rest of the way, right? They had their home games, right? Especially because they're home, are all winnable games in my opinion. The Titans, the Bears, and the Cowboys, just because they're home. But those aren't necessarily easy opponents either, Their road games, they have 3. The Skins, that's a win to me. I mean, like Tiny said, no Alex Smith. This Skins team's going to be in shambles. I had picked them to win this division with him. Without him, I don't think they can get it done. I don't even know if they can win in even maybe one or two more games, maybe. And then their toughest games for me though are the Colts and the Eagles. The Eagles coming up, the Colts are a little bit later, but that even though the Eagles team's in shambles, that doesn't really matter in this rivalry. It never really mattered the records of the teams. It's always been a pretty good game. It's whether who executes better is going to win that game, and then you see, it's tough to win 8 in a row. Well, 6 here, but 8 total. It's not going to be easy.
I agree. That Colts game is the one in Week 16 that really is looking tough. Because I think division games, you said it, they go either way. It doesn't matter. Record doesn't matter who we got. It's going to be a good one. We can beat the Bears at home. We can go beat the Skins. We can catch Mariota on a bad week, beat the Titans. And I think the key to winning that Colts game is just controlling the pace of the game. Andrew Luck likes to sling it around.
Yep.
If we can run the ball and Saquon can run effectively, and we can take 6-minute drives and then get a few turnovers. We got 4 turnovers today. We can do that against the Colts. We can win that game.
And I know you're looking at Week 16, and I think with every week, it's going to get easier in a sense because now it looks unlikely. But you win next one, you win 2, you win 3, and you're only 3 games out now. You're 2 games out. The team starts to believe you a little bit more. I saw a game today with the Ravens, and they looked like they believed in Lamar Jackson. They played around him, and they supported him, and played like that he was their quarterback. Tyner, what did you think of Lamar's performance, and do you think his time is coming?
It's definitely coming. I like to see that Lamar ran for over 100 yards today. And that's not something we see that often, at least right now in the NFL. And it's hard to prepare for quarterbacks that can run. If you can run for 100 yards per game, as long as you have decent accuracy, at least as long as you can throw the football as well, and it looks like he can, he'll learn the offense even more. He'll get more comfortable. His time's coming.
Bo?
I think he makes the Ravens better. I think right now he makes the Ravens a dangerous football team. And at 5-5, Joe Flacco's going 5-4, right? I think they got to consider it right now. I think that he makes them just that much more of a threat on offense. Because maybe Joe Flacco throws the deep ball and stuff like that a little bit better. Lamar's accuracy is maybe not as good. But the way they executed today, I don't know. I think he's just as good, if not better.
Today I saw a different Ravens team. The Steelers have been at the top for a while. And they've always been able to air it out with Big Ben and Antonio Brown. The Ravens have always tried to play defense and hold them under a certain amount of points. And then they've gotten shootouts and they can't keep up with the Steelers. They've tried to play the Steelers game for too long. And I kind of agree with Bo that Lamar gives them a different type of game. They keep the Steelers' offense off the field. They play defense, and at the same time, they put up points by running it and throwing it when they have to and catching the Steelers and other teams by surprise. I think it's a tough move to make. And I don't know if you can take Joe Flacco out, but I agree with Bo that Lamar Jackson makes the Ravens a better team. Tyler, what do you think?
I agree. I don't know if they'll do it as long as Flacco's not healthy. They're not going to force him back, and they're going to let Lamar keep running the show. They're going to see more. He could win a couple more games if Flacco's still hurt, and they could fall in love with him and say it's your job to lose.
Here's my take, right? Flacco hasn't done anything that is made me think, well, he deserves to keep this job. I mean, if they were 6-3, 7-2 with him, it's a different conversation. Maybe a 5-4. That's 500. That's basically 500 football. You know, he isn't. It's not like he's done anything that I'm like, well, he deserves. He's definitely the starter.
Now we're going to stay in the division, and the Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, they all got a chance to compete this year. The Browns building for next year. Interim head coach Greg Williams. Rumor came out the other day the Cleveland Browns are interviewing Condoleezza Rice for the head coaching job. Former United States Secretary of State. Bo, what do you think of Condoleezza Rice being the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns?
I think it's ridiculous because she's not qualified to be a coach. She's not a football coach. She's in politics. It's a totally different field. It's just ridiculous. If the Browns are legitimately considering her, it doesn't surprise me because it's Cleveland Browns.
Now, apparently, rumor did say they had a top 3 list, and she was on it.
I really hope not, for Baker Mayfield's sake. Love the kid. He deserves so much better than that.
Tyler, what do you think?
We are going to let a former Secretary of State who is just a fan of football be a top 3 candidate for a coaching job in the National Football League? What? Top 32 team in the country supposed to be. She even said herself, I'm not ready to be an NFL head coach. She's 64 years old. She won't be ready to be an NFL coach. She did say she hopes more women come into the game and coaching jobs. That's fine. You got to be qualified. Yeah. She's not qualified. No, she better be coaching her retirement plan.
Yeah.
She's not coaching in the National
Has nothing to do with
League.
the fact that she's a woman. It's
No.
the fact that she's not qualified.
No.
Now, what scares me is they are trying to get more women in the game. And I think there should be more women in the game. The problem is they got to start somewhere. Because
This ain't
coach?
it.
No, they need to start at a Division III or another school or be an assistant and work your way up.
Yeah,
But if teams start going out there, and even Division I head coaching jobs in schools, just start going out there and handing out jobs to people that have never coached before, this is going to be a disaster. And I don't want it to be that way because I want some women to coach. But if it starts out bad, they're just going to be shut out like, oh, women can't coach, which isn't right. But that's what's going to happen. But what do you think about the Browns even thinking? What does that say about the Browns even thinking about someone who's never coached football?
Says they don't want to win. Says, here, let's just hire someone who's even more unqualified than Hugh Jackson.
You.
Like, what do you think that says, CJ?
I've heard the top 3 candidates so far. It's Condoleezza Rice, Greg Williams, who's the interim head coach, D coordinator,
Yep.
and Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. I like Greg Williams as the best option. And it's just because the Browns have a good defense to make plays to support Baker. I think they need to start to. I think Baker is good enough offensively that he doesn't need that great coach to come in and support him. I think he has the tools there that if they get a decent enough quarterback coach or someone to bring in, and I'd even like Lincoln Riley as the assistant, but I've seen his defense at Oklahoma and it doesn't impress me. And when you're playing with the Steelers and some of those teams, you need to shut them down.
I think either way they go with it, they should keep the other coach on the staff. You know, if they hire the guy from Oklahoma, then you keep Williams to do the defense, and vice versa. If you keep Williams to coach, you bring in Oklahoma guy who's going to work with Baker, maybe even a QB coach, or an offensive. He's an offensive-minded guy. You could probably bring him on as an offensive coordinator and do just fine.
And what's hard, and it's a reality, is egos get in the way.
Right.
Greg Williams is the interim head coach. He riles off 3 wins, and they go hire Lincoln Riley. Greg Williams is going to interview somewhere else. Greg Williams gets a job, but Lincoln Riley wants a head coaching job. He has one at Oklahoma. He might not leave that. He might leave it to be an OC, but if they only give him a quarterback coach or something else, I'd be worried about that. Tyner, what do you think? Who do you like as a candidate? If not one of those, who?
I'm hiring Greg Williams. He knows what's gone wrong, at least in his view with the organization, which quite honestly is probably a lot. You went 1-31 in 2 seasons. That's atrocious. And you're hiring within. People are going to know. You're right. What does this Oklahoma guy know about defense? Coaching in the Big 12? Probably nothing.
I mean, the
Probably
overs
not.
for the Big 12 every week is 84.
Now, I know that wouldn't be his. I agree with Bo. You keep Greg Williams for the defense. But I think hiring within, you can't hurt anything hiring within. You can't hurt anything being a 1-win football team last year. Did they go 0-16 last year?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I think the thing for them is
you have 3 wins this year. You can't hurt.
You hire within and it doesn't work out. Lincoln Riley now is your next option.
Oh, well.
He comes over.
Yeah, he's still there.
You go to Lincoln Riley and it doesn't work out. Greg Williams probably isn't coming back.
Yeah, you don't have that option.
And Greg Williams is a defensive mind, and he's a dog. He represents what they want in the dog pound, and that's what I think they need right now.
I agree.
All right, you heard it here. Bo, thanks for joining the show. Tyner, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having
Before
me.
we go, is there anything you're looking forward to coming down the stretch from an NFL team, from a college football team? Personally, I want to see if the Cowboys can do it. I've seen Dak has played better. I've seen Zeke is starting to come alive, and I've seen Jason Garrett is getting more aggressive in the play calling. They're airing out. They got some games coming up. They got division games now. Can they knock off the Eagles last year? Can they take down the Giants? Can they beat the Redskins? Or is that going to be a trap game? This is what gets the Cowboys every year. Can that happen? Tyner, what are you looking at?
Besides the Giants running the table, I'm looking at to see if Georgia can beat Bama. And if that's the case, I want to see what the committee thinks of Alabama. I want to see where they go. I want to see who else is close enough and worth consideration for that 4th spot.
Because there's a lot of rumors that if Georgia beats Alabama, Clemson 1, Notre Dame 2, Michigan wins out 3, Georgia 4.
There's no place for Bama.
Where do you put Bama? And I think you're right. It's interesting what they are going to do if that happens. But what are you looking at?
I want to know if Aaron Rodgers is going to save McTubby's job again. Because let me put it this way. 2 years ago, we were 4-6, and then we ran the table, 10-6, make the playoffs. Oh, you're not going to fire a coach who makes the playoffs. Last year, he had the excuse, Brett Hundley was terrible. You know, we didn't have Aaron Rodgers, so basically no one was there to save his job. Here we are, sitting at 4-5-1, pretty much the same position we were 2 years ago, right? So we run the table or still make the playoffs at 9-6-1 or whatever happens. Does that still save McTubby's job again?
Now, Paul, a question for you.
Yeah.
I know you want to make the playoffs. But do you want to make the playoffs now and really not go anywhere? Or do you want McTubby to be gone start fresh, and finally be able to truly compete with the Saints, the Rams, and those types of teams?
The tough thing about that question is, even if McTubby leaves, they bring in somebody else. Is that guaranteed that it's going to fix the problems that we're having? I don't know. That's the reality of it. So,
Do you have any coach that you like to be the Packers' new head coach?
Ben McAdoo.
not Ben McAdoo.
That's
Yeah.
a discussion
You
for
said that.
another day.
No,
I get it.
I'm not really qualified to comment on who should be the next guy in, but just not. I'm done with Mike. I can't.
All right. Tyner, your last thing?
I want to see one last thing to say. I want to see if this week my prediction comes true of the Packers and Vikings tying twice. I called it last time.
Now,
I think they're going to tie again,
I
and
w-
I really believe that.
I will give Tyner credit. All week, me and Bo were bickering at each other who's going to win this game. And Tyner said all week, it's a tie, it's a tie, it's a tie. He went to softball, he left, the game happened, they tied, and he came back home. Me and Bo didn't know what to think, and he had a big smile on his face because he was correct. Tyner, Bo, are going to be joining me later this week on Friday to break down the week's games. We have a big show Thursday. Storm Gibson, and yes, my dad, Craig Gibson, will be on the show Thursday for a family Thanksgiving show to break down the Thursday games. Bo, always great to have you. Tyler, love the hot takes. Boys, have a great day. People driving to work, please be safe. Thank you for joining the show, and keep on balling.